Do you know Port and Maritime Agenda is one of the flagship programs of the Maritime Hub International? Welcome to Port and Maritime Agenda. Today we'll be looking at dredging. Yes, dredging is the art of removing silt and other waste material from the bottom of our water bodies. It's going to be an interesting discussion that you wouldn't want to miss. My name is Jacqueline Favor Asase. We're taking a quick break. We'll be right back.
Here in APMT Liberia, we're training employees to have the mindset of lean. Ensure that when you come to work, you don't just come to do your job, but you come also to do some thinking and also some kaizens. So currently, as you can see here in our environment, we're currently doing a kaizen on 5S, which is basically to improve the safety in our work environment. After doing the lesson, we split the team into groups where they're being assigned to a specific store. And in those stores, they're tasked to ensure that the place is clean, neat, and also everything is at its right place. So what we hope to achieve is not only to build that culture where people are aware of the environment and also the safe working space, but also for them to have that mindset. And the mindset that we're talking about is that 5S mindset. Every time you take something, you always question yourself, where am I putting it? Am I putting it at the right spot? Is it something I really need to do my work? And it is also proven that when you have a 5S mindset, you can improve your productivity by 30%. And that is excellent. Why? Because you can easily find what you're looking for. Everything is at its right space, the right place for everything. So when you need something, you can easily go fetch for it without wasting any time. And we know that in our industry, customer waiting is one of the biggest wastes. And we can reduce that a lot just by doing the 5S Kaizen and also the 5S mindset.
Welcome back from that very quick break. If you just joined us, this is Port and Maritime Agenda. As mentioned earlier, today we'll be looking at dredging. And to help me with the discussion is an industry player. He's also a dredging expert and also having 40 years experience in the industry. Captain Ahmed Khan is my guest today. Hello, Captain.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
You're
Same
looking
here.
splendid.
Thank you so much.
Wow. How is everything going?
Things are going fine and hope same for you.
Yes, likewise. Wow. I'm so glad to have this discussion with you.
As pleasure is mine.
Yeah, so when we talk about dredging and coastal protection, what should come in mind?
Yeah, basically, dredging is a mixture of marine and civil engineering. It is, in a layman's language, is excavation underwater. Water body can be sea, river, dams, anything which is underwater. So purpose of dredging is basically two. One is to create depth and other purpose is to create land where land is required. If you go back in the history of dredging, in ancient times you get documents from China where you see dredging happening way back in BCs. But in modern times, this dredging became an art and science, basically in Northern Europe, especially in Holland. If you know, Holland is about 4 meters below sea level. So for them, their livelihood and their life itself was dependent upon fighting the sea. If they cannot stop sea from destroying their land, Dutch would not have survived. And they survived so well that Dutch were the richest people in the world in 18th and 19th century. So basically they mastered this art and science of dredging and now is being used worldwide.
But do we have special water bodies that these activities are being carried out? Or all our water bodies, dredging can take place?
Yeah, dredging is required everywhere. For example, world is now facing two major challenges. One, climate change is accelerating the erosion of coastal areas. We are losing our beach, our coast, our coastline, all the cities near coast are losing land to the sea, and as we are in West Africa, Gulf of Guinea
Okay.
is highly plagued by erosion, and the entire belt from Ivory Coast to Nigeria is eroding very fast. In fact, to save land at the coast, there is a special program called WACA, WACA, by World Bank to prevent further coastal erosion in West Africa.
Okay.
So this is one thing that we are losing land. At second side, because of rapid urbanization of coastal cities all over the world, there is not enough land to provide for housing, for infrastructure. For example, at the moment as we are talking, there is a very big airport is being made at sea in Manila in Philippines. Entire port is at sea now.
Okay.
And a country which is 33% of the land area has been dredged is Singapore.
Oh.
And one country which is sinking is Maldives. And whole world is trying to save Maldives through dredging activities.
Oh, okay, interesting. So tell us, what goes into this dredging activity?
Yeah, dredging is basically you excavate underwater. So it means you need machines which can work underwater. And see, the greatest challenge with water is first you cannot see in a literal sense. So basically you have to have equipment which can work without the need of you looking what you are doing at. Now you have technologies which can literally make you see underwater. Secondly, water is very, very dynamic. So the movement of water, especially at sea, can cause serious damages to your equipment as well as could be threat to life.
Okay.
So underwater, any activity underwater takes a very different dimension than when you do it at land.
Okay. So how does this activities, which is the dredging, how does it this activity align to our sustainable development goals?
Yeah, SDG goals are very, very important to this industry. This is one of the biggest means to fight climate change, because climate change, as I told you, is affecting, sea is rising, sea level is rising with every rise in temperature. So rising seas means coastal areas getting flooded. At the same time, climate pattern is changing so fast that areas which had floods throughout the year are now facing drought, and those areas which were facing drought are now facing flooding. If you remember few months back, Dubai had intense rain. Even Saudi Arabia, some parts had snowfall, which nobody can even imagine. Middle East, which is total desert, can have snowfall and rains. So, where you need water, dredging can create capacity in the dams, in the river bodies, to contain more water, and also make it deep so that floods do not happen.
Okay.
That is one side, and second side, it can cater for preventing coastal erosion as well as providing land for ever increasing population.
Oh, okay. But due to climate change, our coastal cities are sinking. What role is dredging playing to mitigate this factor?
If you see, the most important factor for us to survive as human beings, we have to understand that we are sharing this planet with a lot of other living beings, and we are not the lord of this planet. That once that is established and accepted, we have to start building with nature instead of working against nature. So now modern techniques of dredging are basically trying to work with nature so that coastal erosion is prevented, at the same time effect on environment as well as coastal morphology is minimum to nil.
But are you of the view that coastal erosions can be prevented?
Yes, coastal erosions can be prevented, but approach has changed. Approach in olden times was to do hard protection. Hard protection means you make sea defense, you make breakwaters, you bring rock, concrete to break the wave energy. But in the process, what used to happen, that suppose you have protected area A, but area B will start getting eroded because there is something called littoral drift. By nature, sand moves in a particular direction. So if you put a barrier to it, then you can prevent erosion at one place and will cause erosion at some other place. Now idea is, instead of making hard barrier, is to use soft technologies. Like modern method is, one is beach nourishment, to pump the sand on the beach so that erosion is compensated instead of building hard rocks. Second method is now sand motor, where you accumulate sand at one vintage point and from there waves and sea activities carry it. And now the most modern method is to build mangroves so that wetlands can themselves prevent erosion.
Okay. We'll have more discussion on the sun motor, but before that, we're taking a quick break. We'll be right back.
The Consolidated Shipping Agencies Limited, or CONSHIP for short, is a world-class Ghanaian logistics company formed in February 1996. It is based in Accra, Tema and Takoradi in Ghana, West Africa.
We've expanded our portfolio to offer services such as marine and husbandry services, onshore and offshore logistics services, projects, international freight forwarding services, and warehousing.
Today, due to its numerous partnerships, CONSHIP has a network over 2,000 locations globally from which it can do business. This enables the company to fulfill its prime goal of providing quick, efficient, and dependable services for its customers. The vision: succeeding together with passion.
Welcome back from that very quick break. If you just joined us, this is Port and Maritime Agenda, and Captain Ahmed Khan, who is a dredging expert, is joining us for the discussion. Captain, before the break, I mentioned what is sun motor. Can you please elaborate on that for us?
Yeah, what we used to do before was to pump sand directly on the beach where erosion was taking place.
Okay.
Now it was realized that is acting like a barrier and is not the best method. So now idea is now to bring sand to a vintage point and deposit sand there and let wave and sea action distribute it naturally. This method is more natural, causes less disturbance to marine habitat, as well as results are as good as beach nourishment.
Okay, but where and how do you get this sand to pump into the...
Yeah, in beach nourishment this is critical, that where to get the sand. So if you are lucky enough, you may find sand say within a kilometer or two, maybe 5 kilometers. Sometimes sand has to be exported from one country to other country. Like Cambodia was exporting sand to Singapore.
Is it any type of sand, or do we have a specific
Coarse
selection?
sand is better for beach nourishment,
Okay.
because fine sand flows away very fast because particle size is small. Gravel and coarse sand takes time to flow away. So basically coarse material is better.
How can we protect West African coast, which is fast eroding?
First and foremost is we have to accept that climate change is taking place, and then next step is how to tackle it. So number one, with a very broad area, is to bring down the temperatures within the limits. For that, carbon emission, carbon footprint has to be reduced, not only West Africa, everywhere. In short term, measures can be done to reduce the rate of erosion. And the best method, which is now found most suitable, keeping in mind the marine habitat, the environmental effects, is to do soft protection. Yes, soft protection.
Soft protection.
In soft protection, instead of putting sand on the beach or making sea defense by rocks and concrete, what you do, you try to plant mangroves, all those plants which can survive in the salt water. So you create a small protection for them, like small breakwater or sea defense or a sea wall, and behind that you do plantation of suitable plants which can grow in salt water. As they grow, they do two things. One, they break the energy of waves, and secondly, their roots are so strong that they bind the soil from flowing away. It has been tried very successfully in Indonesia and is being replicated world over now.
Okay. Taking our country, for instance, has much been done in terms of dredging and then the protection of our water bodies?
First thing is a long-term plan is required, and secondly, dredging and coastal protection need a lot of investment. And West African countries' economies are growing, they have different priorities, and obviously protection from sea is not on the topmost agenda, but now governments have woken up, and especially funding is being received from World Bank, from ADB, and other international banks and investment companies are taking interest because they are realizing by protecting West Africa, they are protecting themselves.
How expensive is this activity, dredging?
Yeah, because it's underwater, highly capital intensive, equipment are very costly. People who are expert in this are very, very limited in the world. So cost can vary anything starting from $5 per cubic meter upwards.
Really?
And even sea defense, even a small one, a 5 kilometer can cost you more than 100 million USD. So it's a costly activity, but then it saves lives, it saves properties, and the benefit is long term and extends for generations. And now Western countries, especially Western donors, have realized that by protecting African coast, they are protecting themselves. So now investments are coming, and as we were discussing offline, that if we develop the local talent in this field, obviously cost will come down, and there will be also a great buy-in by people, because instead of capital flowing outside the region, it will remain inside the region, as well as people will get employment, and they will know what good they are doing to themselves and for next generations.
Okay, we have few minutes to wrap up. I want to find out who is qualified to be a dredging expert.
Yeah, dredging, especially at sea, requires you have to be a mariner first, because all marine rules and regulations apply, and all the techniques required for ship handling is required even for dredgers. And then you have to be good in civil engineering. So basically you are a mariner plus a civil engineer
Okay.
expert on water. For inland dredging, if you are a good civil engineer and you are not afraid of water, is enough.
Okay. So why in the country is this training? Do we have this training?
Unfortunately, marine culture is not very well entrenched in Africa, especially West Africa. Even in Ghana, we have only one marine college. At least this is better than people used to go to UK before to study.
Okay.
But actually what we have to do, we have to educate our children that marine career is a very fruitful and fulfilling career, not only monetary wise,
Okay.
even the job satisfaction. So when this comes and educational institutions invest in this, even I would suggest the big companies involved in Africa can take it as a CSR activity to train children for this maritime sector, which is very critical for the world, as well as it will provide employment and growth to the country.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Captain.
Thank you
It's
so
been
much.
an interesting discussion, but we really have to wrap it here.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
My
so much
pleasure.
for joining us on Port and Maritime Agenda and also for receiving us. We are so much grateful.
Thank you so much.
So this is how we wrap up on today's episode of Port and Maritime Agenda. We'll be bringing you part 2 and Ruth Boche will do the second discussion. My name is Jacqueline Favor. As I said, my hair and makeup is by Vespalmer's Beauty Salon and my producer, yes, and also my outfit is also sponsored by Peace Collection. Contact Peace Collection in Ashaiman for all type of outfit for your various occasions. Once again, my name is Pretty Jacqueline. But I love to be called Pretty Jacqueline. Enjoy the rest of our program.